Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Kalika and you're gonna be a spicier person after watching this video. Stolen underwear plus itching powder. The backstory. This happened years ago when I lived with a boyfriend and his family, his parents and younger sister. I was 19. His younger sister was 16 or 17, something like that. His younger sister basically ran the house and got away with everything. She'd steal money, clothes, food I paid for, etc. But it never really bothered me until it came down to my clothes, and especially my underwear. She was larger than me, and every shirt she stole would be so stretched out that I couldn't wear them anymore. Same with underwear. I wouldn't have worn them after her anyways. I tried to catch all of my clothes as soon as they came out of the dryer, but she was very sneaky. And sometimes she'd even go directly in my dresser and steal stuff. After countless times asking her to stop, and even going to the parents who sided with her, I finally got sick of losing everything I owned. I was paying rent at this house and only made $7.50 an hour at a job, and I couldn't afford to keep replacing my clothes. So I went to Walmart and got some decently cute cheeky underwear. I then went to an adult novelty store and got some itching powder. I got several in case one didn't work. When I was home alone one afternoon, before she got home from school, I sprinkled and rubbed in some of the powder in the new underwear, placed a couple in the dryer and a couple in my drawer. When she came home, I heard the dryer open and close. I kept to myself in the kitchen and went about my day. Checking later, all the pairs were missing from the dryer. I don't know why she didn't question why they were the only thing in the dryer. In hindsight, I should have made it less obvious, but she was dumb. Fast forward a couple of days, I come home to her being screamed at by her parents. Apparently she thought she had gotten crabs from her boyfriend, so she had gone to her mum to go and see a gynecologist about it. Her mum didn't know she was having sex. I didn't mean to bust her out for that, but it is what it is. I never told her or my boyfriend what I did, so the stealing never stopped. But at least she got some bad juju her way, and it was very shortly after that we moved out. Okay, so I can understand an annoying, bratty teenager stealing your clothes because she thinks they look cool. But who would ever think of stealing and wearing someone else's underwear? Even if washed and dried, it's still a really gross thing to think about, and I'd love to know why the parents would defend behaviour like that. My upstairs neighbours play music loud all the time, so I get my own back. Just a little warning at the start, I have dyslexia, so my spelling and grammar can be a little off sometimes. I do my best. This is also my first post. Well, the title pretty much says it all. However, they would have their music so loud I could actually pick up lyrics from things like Katy Perry's Firework or Monster Bass Beat that made my head throb, it was so loud. This went on for most of the day once they were up, and until they went to bed or went out. I loved the quiet when they left. I'm a very shy and timid person, so it took me a lot of bravery to talk to them. I tried to talk to them, and when I did, they just laughed at me and then turned it up louder. I tried the landlord as well, but they said unless they heard it themselves, it was my word against theirs, so that was that. What my neighbours didn't know is I actually own a very powerful music system. I just didn't use mine the way they do theirs, and after weeks and weeks of all their racket, I'd had enough. So, I decided it was time for payback. The piece of music I chose was a piece of classical music. I can feel the looks of how is classical music supposed to be revenge? My friends, you'd be surprised by what you can find. You see, I picked Toccata and Fugue in D minor by Bach. I have no idea if I pronounced that correctly. This is a piece of organ music, most famously its opening chords, which are used in scary movies. If you listen to it, you'll understand what I mean. Anyway, this piece of music is 10 minutes long. I turned it up and let it play. At first they tried to compete with me. I just made it louder and louder until they stopped, and then after this, I kept it on for half an hour to make my point. Funnily enough, they don't play their music loudly anymore, and when they try, all I have to do is turn my system up with the first few opening bars of this music, and they suddenly turn it down. Sorry it's not more dramatic and short, but I still wanted to share. Laundry revenge. I lived in a crappy apartment complex a few years ago that actually had 2 decent on-site laundry buildings. Each one had 15 washers and 15 dryers. Considering that I was usually in there alone or maybe with one other person, this was definitely overkill, but no one could ever complain about there not being enough machines for us to use. Usually, I would take a camping chair and a book with me because I didn't trust my neighbours not to screw with my laundry, But if I was busy or in the middle of something, I'd set my alarm, leave my clothes to wash, and come back with 5 minutes to spare to either move it to the dryers or take the clean clothes home. One such time, I was in the middle of cooking and couldn't watch my laundry, so the plan was to set it up, get back to my prep, and move it all to the dryer when the alarm went off. But as soon as I got back to my apartment, I realised that I had forgotten to put my sheets in as well, so I quickly grabbed them and ran back to the laundry building to toss them in with the rest of my clothes. Only to find all of my dripping wet clothes on the table and someone else's stuff in my machine that I had paid for. Less than 10 minutes had passed, but that was long enough apparently for some a-hole to pull a switch. I saw red and decided that I didn't really need to wash my clothes today. Instead, I went back to my apartment, got my clothes basket and 3 packs of those super cheap Easter egg dyeing kits I had left over from the months previous. I loaded up all of my wet clothes into my basket, dropped a dozen or so of the dye tablets into the offending washing machine, and went home to finish cooking. The next day, I went back, with my chair and a book, and washed my clothes. In the trash can there, someone had thrown away a lot of reddish motley blue coloured clothes and towels for some reason. I wonder how that happened. What is it with jerks and laundry today? We have one panty thief and one cheapskate. And browsing the recent posts on this subreddit, there were at least 2 other stories of laundry theft. I'm so glad this isn't a thing over here. Every flat or apartment usually comes with at least a washing machine installed. We don't really have laundromats or anything like that over here. It's weird. Cheat on me? You'll regret it. Note, everyone in this story is in high school. When I was in my early days of high school, I used to date this guy, James. When I was in that relationship, I thought that he was such a great guy, but now I realise how awful he truly was. When we got together, James asked that we keep the relationship private because he didn't want all that attention, his words, which now seems like a big red flag, but I didn't really think much of it at the time. So, with the exception of both our immediate families, no one really knew we were together. We didn't go out much, just hung out in school, like any typical high school relationship. One important thing to note is that I'm openly pan. My family and friends know it, James knows it, basically everyone knows and accepts it. James and I had one class together, and we had a mutual friend we'll call Ashlyn. Ash was a really sweet, kind girl who James met through an after-school math class they took together. He introduced her to me, and we immediately hit it off. James and Ash hung quite a bit, but I didn't think anything of it at the time because I thought I could trust him. Another important thing is that Ash is bi and open, and she didn't know that I was dating James at the time. So, one day, I was supposed to hang out at the Starbucks near our school with James, but he cancelled a few hours before because he had a dentist appointment he didn't know about until the day of. I didn't want to cancel my plans completely, so I called up Ash and asked her if she'd like to hang out with me. She said sure, so we both met up. We were talking about a dance that was coming up at our school, and she casually mentioned that she now has someone to go with. I asked her what she meant, and she says that she has a boyfriend now. I of course was thrilled for her, and asked her who it was. Then she dropped the bombshell. James had asked her out, and they were now dating. Ash said that he had asked her not to tell anyone, but she knew that she could trust me. Well, I was completely surprised and shocked by that information, so I told her the truth. When I finished, Ash didn't want to believe me, so I called James, who didn't know I was with her at the time. I said cheesy things like, "Hi baby, I miss you," and "I love you, do you love me more?" and "Am I your favourite girl?" and stuff like that. Ash was right there next to me, hearing everything. When I ended the call, she said that she believed me and that we should go break up with him together. The next day, we saw James in the class we share with him. We told him everything we knew, and Ash and I broke up with him. He tried to defend himself and plead not guilty at first, but once he saw there was no way out, he gave up and confessed to everything. Turns out he wasn't as good of a guy as we thought he was. Ash and I left him to be. The incident brought me and Ash a lot closer, and after a few years passed, we actually started to develop feelings for each other. I had a big crush on her, and I was actually pretty sure she felt the same way about me. So I asked her out one day. She said yes, and we're now together. I love Ash with all my heart, and I'm so glad to be dating her. I didn't get into a relationship with her to be petty, of course, but it still makes me smile every time James sees us together. He hates us being a couple. I'm so happy to be away from that relationship and to be dating this amazing, wonderful girl. Plus, I got sweet, sweet revenge on James. Ah, I love high school. I actually once managed to date a guy without ever speaking to him. Okay, so that's all for r/PettyRevenge. I really hope you did enjoy it. As always, if you do want to see more content like this, then please do subscribe. My Twitter, Discord, and Patreon links are in the description, and any support is greatly appreciated. And, as it's Sunday, I also want to say a massive thank you to my wonderful patrons. BackwardsDDog, Tyler Miller, Jen Burton, Jen Spanning, Bo Walker, Princess Kate, Skyler A, Elizabeth Filmore, Stephen Arnowitt, Anonymous, Shagar, Koltin, Bruce Reed, James Scanlan, and Darkimedes. Thank you all so much for your support. Mwah! That's for you, but keep it between us, okay? Thank you so much for watching.